It's mid-May, so of course I'm back at the St. Clair River. After a hard kick, I'm once again back in the clear river rocks, the deepest part of the river. And why am I here? It's because, as always, it's lake sturgeon spawning season. This year began like any other. I patiently waited for the water temperature to reach 53 degrees to see the lake sturgeon for only fleeting moments as I drifted by in very fast currents. As impressive as this is, there's something I've always wanted. I've wanted the chance to sit and hang out with the lake sturgeon instead of just drifting by. Other more experienced divers tell me tales of a location where you can sit with the lake sturgeon and interact with them without getting blown downriver. And this great spot, of course, is nearly in the middle of the St. Clair River behind a shipwreck. Not exactly the easiest place to get to. But with some effort, I found my way out there to find nothing. All the lake sturgeon had left. And sadly, as I looked around, the disturbed bottom told me one thing. The lake sturgeon had already came through and spawned. And that's the end of this quest, right? I have to wait till next year. Well, that's what most people would think. But thankfully, I know a little secret. You see, there are two groups of lake sturgeon. And if you miss the first one at 53 degrees, all you need to do is come back when the water temperature hits 58 degrees. It's now 3 weeks later, into June, and let's try again and see what happens. Well, that was incredible. Like, seriously incredible. How can I really add anything by saying what we just saw together? That was, hands down, the best sturgeon dive I have ever done in 15 years of river diving. To have so many fish so close in an area that you can actually stay and interact with them is a diver's dream. And thankfully for me, an opportunity I got the chance to exploit thoroughly. Thankfully, this is just my first dive of the day and I have more tanks. I wish I could stay all day, but I can't. The important thing to remember is not to get greedy. Your time is very limited. After about 15 minutes, it's time to head back to shore, swap tanks, do our safety stop, and head back into the water. And within a few minutes, we're back in the same spot with the same group of sturgeon. But we're going to do something a little different. As tempting as it might be to sit right here and film these guys again, let's wander out a little deeper to see if we could do perhaps better. Just on the edge of this spot, the bottom begins to slope from 55 feet down to 70 feet. And in this hole at 70 feet, there were even more lake sturgeon. The current, however, is much more intense, so divers have placed the rope down so that you can hang on and hang out with the sturgeon. It did not take long for the sturgeon to start becoming curious and coming in close to inspect me. It's one of those things, no matter how many times it's happened to you, I never get tired of a sturgeon coming in and having a close look at me. At first, it's just one or two curious sturgeon, but when you wait and let them get a chance to become familiar with you, they all start showing up. And before you know it, I was surrounded by nearly 50 lake sturgeon. Diving the St. Clair River really doesn't get much better than this right here. Now with plenty of air and the sturgeon found, all I need to do is just settle in, enjoy the show, but not forget to hang on, because the current comes and goes in gusts, and unfortunately, my dive partners were literally blown away by the intense currents at this location. Don't worry about them, they'll be just fine. Looks like I get the sturgeon all to myself now. This really shouldn't be happening. Fish and Wildlife gave up weeks ago. Most of the other divers have stopped looking for sturgeon weeks ago. But what they don't realize is that there's two very distinct groups of lake sturgeon, and this second group is very poorly understood and very poorly documented. Experienced divers can tell the difference between the two groups of lake sturgeon. The one main difference between this group of lake sturgeon and the one that shows up in May is this second batch of lake sturgeon are usually on the smaller side. These fish seem to average about 4 to 5 feet compared to the much larger individuals that show up earlier in the season. But what they lack in size, they definitely make up for in numbers and willingness to let divers come in close. In fact, some come in a little too close for my taste. Not many people can say that they've been kissed by a lake sturgeon, but I certainly have, and it's happened more than once. These lake sturgeon will gather and position themselves for spawning for days, but will only actually spawn for just a few hours at most. As they wait to spawn, you can tell that they're not exactly ready to go because you'll see them forming long lines. When they're actually ready to spawn, they will sit side by side with one another. They like rocky substrate with larger boulders mixed in with a fast flowing current. That seems to be their preferred spawning habitat. The time goes by so fast, but you need to pay attention to your air. Within about 15 minutes, I had reached the point that I needed to return to shore, which is no easy task. You have to go towards a shipwreck, ride its whirlpool, and then crawl hand over hand over a bunch of boards before you make it back to shore. It's a linear distance of roughly 450 feet, but it certainly seems a lot longer. Those two dives would be very hard to beat for the best underwater encounter of the year. But still, it's only June, I have to keep trying. And for me, one of the things I look for when making a video is finding some of the rarest unseen animals in the Great Lakes system. And the next one I am after is certainly the rarest fish that desperately needs attention before it disappears for good on the next episode of Into Swamps, Streams, and Shallows. If you liked the video, consider leaving a like, a comment, and subscribing. Stay safe, dive often, and we'll see you on the next one.